Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Scott Luton and Billy Ray Taylor with you here, right here on Supply Chain. Now, welcome to today's live stream. Hey, Billy Ray, how you doing?
Hey, Scott, I'm doing great. Great weekend. I'm excited to be here today.
Oh, I believe you. I've seen all the pictures, Billy Ray. I mean, you always look like a $1 billion inflation when you join us, but I've been tracking you, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. But, folks, welcome to today's Buzz. You know the Buzz comes at you every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Time, where we discuss a variety of news and developments today across global supply chain, global business. Today, Billy Ray, we have got some outstanding stories. We're going to touch on what some are pointing out as cultural issues at Boeing. We're going to check in on the TSMC chip foundry build out in Arizona and a few of the challenges there. We're going to be checking in with our own Hollywood rock and roll star, Billy Ray Taylor, and find out about some of the extraordinary people he's been rubbing elbows with. Stay tuned, folks, right around the corner. And one of my, I just saw a little note in the background. One of our guests said it's a billion dollars. I love that fiscal policy there. Speaking of, we've got some wonderful guests joining us in a few minutes. Dear longtime friends, Kathy Fulton and Lexi Nobles with the American Logistics Aid Network. They're leveraging supply chain organizations and a whole lot more to help those in need. Stay tuned to find out how you can help support their mission. Great group there, Billy Ray. I look forward to sharing with our audience, huh?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a great show. Very engaging.
Yes. Well, hey, whenever you join us, it just takes the IQ level up a few notches. So, folks, buckle up and get ready. Hey, two quick things before we get going. First off, give us your take in the comments, whether you're tuned in via LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Facebook, Twitch, no matter. Let us know what you think. We welcome that throughout this live next hour. And if you enjoy the show, we'd love for you to share it with a friend or two in your network. Hey, Billy Ray, as we've been saying, sharing is caring indeed, right?
That's exactly right.
All right.
Exactly right.
So, all right. So, Billy Ray, before I get started, we're going to share some resources on the front end. You were talking about pre-show. One of the highlights after your world travels, you got in, spent some time with the family over the weekend, and you were checking out a new movie you really liked, huh?
Absolutely. It was called It Ends With Us.
Okay.
It was outstanding. My wife and my daughter went to see it. The late show on Saturday. One, hold to your standards, my key takeaway.
Okay. And hold to your standards. Okay. And I
bet it ends with us. Remember, it ends with us.
I'm writing that down, and I'm going to go check it out. And I bet hold to your standards. I bet you got a version of that in this bestseller book you put out, huh?
Absolutely. What you accept, you cannot change.
That is right. And, you know, we touch on this every time, Billy Ray, because I love how you bake your mom and all her sayings and her leadership and how she was a role model in your leadership stories in your book and all. And I would say, you agree with me or tell me I'm wrong, for folks that don't hold to their standards, it's going to be NFL. Absolutely. Not for long. Is that right, Billy Ray?
That's right. Not for long will you be in business. Not for long will you be successful. But more importantly, not for long will you be happy.
Oh, I love it. Good stuff there. All right. Great to have you here as always. Hey, Jonathan tuned in from South Africa, watching via LinkedIn. Hey, great to see you here, Jonathan. Love to get your take on some of the topics we talked throughout the next hour. And Lincoln, via LinkedIn, out in my neck of the woods, Grayson, Georgia. Wonderful, Lincoln. Great to have you here. Looking forward to your perspective as well. Okay. So, Billy Ray, we got to get to work. We got a couple of outstanding guests joining us here in just a few minutes. Let's share some resources with folks, huh?
Absolutely.
I'm going to start with this picturesque little view. Now, this bridge here, this is the Pecos River Bridge, which spans the Pecos River near Del Rio, Texas. You ever seen that, Billy Ray?
Oh, no. That's a new for me.
Okay. Well, hey, folks, if you've driven across this gorgeous bridge like that truck driver's doing there, let us know. Let us know where it is, Don. Anyway, with that said, right, our almost weekly newsletter, it goes out to our wonderful friends on LinkedIn, and then it goes out via our email distribution. So if you're missing it, sign up on one of those two places. But over the weekend, we covered a variety of topics. And if I had to just kind of get the tip of the iceberg, hey, Billy Ray, how about these questions, these rhetorical questions? Is AI plunging into the trough of disillusionment. How about that? We also tackled a few surprises in the do-it-yourself industry. They're kind of coming down a little bit after the pandemic high, where everybody was trying to fix stuff, at home and all. There's a surprise new leader gaining some ground there. And I'm going to ask you, this is not rhetorical, Billy Ray. Have you heard of Summerween yet?
I have not. And
Okay.
I intentionally didn't try to look it up. I want to hear more about it, right? I didn't want to fake it until I made it.
All right.
Well, interesting because it looked great. I want to turn the tables back on you today.
All right, turn them back. Well, it's a simple concept, and it's simple because I've got to be able to tackle it and understand it, right? So, Summerween is simple. Evidently, there has been more of a year-round demand for Halloween stuff, so that has led some retailers to as early as April to put Halloween stuff out. Wow. I've been popping into Costco on a regular basis, and they've got these 20-foot high skeletons for front yards. If you want to really make your homeowners association angry, I have maintained discipline and not made the purchase. But anyway, Summerween. So all these retailers are pushing Halloween product up earlier in the year. And of course, folks, so does that make sense, Billy Ray? Have y'all splurged yet on anything Halloween related?
Not yet. Now, my wife normally does. Every holiday she decorates the whole facility. I'm about to share that story with her.
Well, do that, and I would also encourage fiscal discipline, because I'm telling you, all these Halloween displays, they're just perfect for impulse buys, and I'm bad at that. So, but anyway, folks, check out With That Said. We drop it just about every weekend, and it's a great mix of some of our views, plenty of outside views, upcoming live programming, lots of resources. Hey, our other dear friend, Billy Ray, who is still in the private chat, you'll be seeing her in just a second, says that this bridge gives her great anxiety. I'm with you, Kathy, back there. Billy Ray, I would try to find a different route maybe than cross this bridge. It looks pretty high.
I agree. I would do it if it's the only option, but I would seek an alternative.
I might be swimming across the river. I don't know. We'll have to do a check next time we visit Texas. Okay. Folks, we're making it even easier. We dropped the link to our most recent With That Said right there. You're one click away. And great to have y'all here. Hey, Siva from Dallas, Texas. We're just talking about Dallas via LinkedIn. Great to have you here, Siva. Let us know if you've ever crossed the Pecos River Bridge down there near Del Rio, Texas. Hey, Larry Klein, LK, I've got something for you. So, Billy Ray, Larry is a veteran of the United States Army, and we've got a great partnership with our friends at the Association for Manufacturing Excellence. Billy Ray, I think you're still on the board for the AME.
Yes, I am.
They have opened up 10 seats for their upcoming international conference coming to Atlanta in October. And Larry, I have got one for you, my friend. So let's catch up again real soon. Great to have you here. All right, good stuff. All right, Billy, I got to make more progress. I'm getting too infatuated with these early stories. All right, here's some speaking of resources, Billy. Gosh, the freight market. Everybody has got a different take, a different opinion. Some data driven, some not, when it comes to what's going on in the domestic freight market. Well, check out the recently released U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index for second quarter 2024. It's full of freight, supply chain, economic observations. As y'all know, it all weaves together, right? But in particular, driven by tons and tons of data. Last year alone, Billy Ray, in 2023, I believe U.S. Bank processed $42 billion worth of transactions, and that's what fuels these quarterly reports. Folks, Billy Ray, how many trucks you think it takes to get about $42 billion worth of data and take it anywhere?
Over 1 million. I'm going to go big.
Something like that. I tend to agree with you. But folks, it's a great resource to help folks understand what's going on in the domestic freight market, especially when combined with other data points and reports and analysis, and it's free. So y'all check that out. We're dropping a link here. You're one click away from signing up for this quarterly report, and we recommend that you do. Hey, one more thing. Larry Klein, have you ever been across the Hoover Dam, Billy?
Right. Yes, I have several times.
Okay.
Several times.
When is the last time? Have you gone since the water kind of has been real low?
No. I did in the around 2015. I was there
Okay.
almost every week.
Well, the last time I went, and Larry Klein, I'm curious to know when you went. I guess that's maybe the I-93 bridge, which I think that I-93, I think that crosses right in front of the Hoover Dam, and it's really adjacent to the observation bridge.
Yes.
But the scary thing there, Billy Ray, because we just went 2 years ago, and me and Amanda both had to leave the bridge. It's connected to an interstate, and you got all this travel, and that thing bounces and shakes a little bit, and you're probably 30 stories high. Me and Amanda took a peek, got a picture, and we were out. So we'll try that out again, maybe Larry Klein, maybe the next lifetime. All right. So y'all check out the U.S. Bank Freight Payment Index. We'll drop the link there. I got one more thing before we bring on our guests here today. Billy, I am dying to know. So we were talking earlier about some of the Hollywood rock and roll folks you've been rubbing elbows with, and you got to tell me about this. This is a picture of you and Marcus Lemonis. I'm a huge fan of The Prophet, long-running TV show on CNBC, but he's doing other big things too. Billy Ray, what's going on here?
It was great. We were kidding around backstage. He was on the Aspire tour, which is a big part of it. We're just hanging out, talking, but really, we align on his approach to business, right? People, process, and product.
Yeah.
How do you connect them? And we were just joking around. Why do you have to emphasize operational efficiency? It's no matter what you do. It's important. You have to identify and eliminate that waste, things you don't need, and then prioritize on the customer when you're doing so.
Man.
Right. And so we talk about you can't save your way to prosperity.
Right.
Also, but it was more a lot of kidding and joking. And Kevin O'Leary was there from The Prophet.
Mr. Wonderful.
Yes, Mr. Wonderful. We were backstage having fun as well. It was a great day.
I believe it. So, folks, check out. We're going to drop the link here. Billy Ray kind of shares a little bit more along the lines of what he just shared there. Some things they spoke about, some things they spoke with the audience about, and some more pictures. You can check it out via this LinkedIn post I think we grabbed here. And that Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, which is been running forever, one of the most popular reality shows, I think, in 2024.
Yes.
Doing deals. You doing deals, Billy Ray? Doing deals?
I didn't do any deals. I was kind of stealing shamelessly.
Oh man, okay, love it. Well, great to have you here as always. Hey, speaking of great to have, we've got two outstanding guests here with us here. Outstanding guests, really moving mountains, helping folks out there, helping families and individuals and many others in need. And one of them I've known for a long time. I've been a long time admirer, and we get to meet one of her colleagues that's making it happen, moving mountains here today as well. So I want to welcome in Kathy Fulton, Executive Director with the American Logistics Aid Network, and her colleague, Lexi Nobles, who serves as Operations Coordinator at Allen. Hey, Kathy, how you doing?
Hey, Scott. It's so good to be back with you guys. It's been too long.
I am with you. It's been way too long. And Lexi, it's so nice to meet you. How you doing?
I'm great. It's nice to meet you all as well.
Well, we are Billy Ray. I have long time been a big admirer. We talk often about deeds, not words, right? Mm-hmm. And how we got to have action-oriented leadership, not lip service leadership. And Kathy and Lexi and the team at Allen embody that every single day and helping people on this noble mission, which we're going to dive into in just a minute. But Billy Ray, we need more of that in this world, huh?
Absolutely. Those that share, like you said, sharing is caring.
That is right. So, Kathy, we've enjoyed having you previously. It has been too long. Me and you and Maureen Wolschlager, dear Maureen, got together probably about a year and a half ago or so. Time flies. But for a handful of folks out there that may be new to what Allen does, would you share a little bit more about the organization and your mission here to start with?
Yeah. So Allen, American Logistics Aid Network, is one of those organizations that was created after Hurricane Katrina. The thing that's a little bit different about us is that we were actually formed by the industry. So by the industry associations and the businesses who are in the logistics and supply chain industry. Our mission is pretty simple. We want to make it easier for logistics services providers to donate their skills, their assets, and their resources to help during disaster. Yeah, so making it easier to be able to do that. There are a few things we do. Lexi will dive into them, but the main one that people see us for is really helping nonprofit organizations who are active in disaster access that donated and discounted logistics services.
Wow. I love that. And by the way, before I switch over to Lexi and get her to add a few more details to y'all's incredible noble mission that's impacting so many others positively, we should put in a quick Go Gators, Kathy. I think you've got a Gators coffee mug
That's
there.
right.
Okay.
That's right. Gators are killing it in the Olympics, man.
We've been tracking it. Man, the Olympics, that in and of itself, I haven't watched as much about the Olympics in years. It was fascinating, especially this weekend with that 4x100 relay race. It was remarkable. Okay, so Lexi, Kathy kind of shared a bit in a nutshell about all the cool about the mission, really, and what y'all do and how you do it, by leveraging that expertise, the logistics infrastructure and resources from other organizations, all funneling that into big needs that, whether they're hurricanes or droughts or floods or other sorts of disasters. What else would you add, Lexi?
Yeah, I think Kathy really hit the nail on the head, but I think it's important to remember that we're not just here during disaster, we're here throughout the entire disaster life cycle. So mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. We're here to help with logistics year round. Anything that they need, we're here. And I think that's really important.
I agree, Lexi. And y'all are the pros, but Billy Ray and Kathy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in some of her previous appearances with us, Billy Ray, any kind of disaster zone, you got folks that aren't there, they rush in there and they're trying to help, right? But the complexity and the confusion, it can prevent a lot of aid from getting to, it can actually make things worse in some cases, right? So I think Lexi's comment about how holistic, and they're pros that are there before the disaster, through the disaster, post the disaster, that there's a calming, stabilizing force there. Kathy, did I get that right? Before
you
I get
it.
okay, I'm making sure. Billy Ray, what do you hear there? And what's your take as a fellow supply chain practitioner?
Well, business continuity, you have to have that in place. And like Lexi said, it's not just during the disaster. It's once you come out of that disaster. And there has to be a structured approach to do that, or it'd be chaotic. It's really chaotic because everybody wants to help, but all help's not good help.
That is right.
Billy Ray, I love what you said. Business continuity. One of our big tenets is we don't want to get in the way of the supply chains that are there to serve people 99% of the time, right? So we're trying to make sure that our nonprofit partners are keeping the bad stuff out, and we're only there to serve during, we're there year round, but we're only serving that slice of the community that can't go shop at the retail outlet, that can't go, that they need their houses retarped or whatever, and they can't afford to do it. They don't have insurance. We're here to help those people in those community-based organizations that really need the support. That's the strength of the logistics and supply chain community. We all have big hearts. We all have all these resources. Yeah, but if we're not out there making money and keeping the lights on, there's no way that we can help our communities afterwards.
Well said, Kathy. I love your perspective there, but I love even more your passion. And we've seen you in action. Y'all act on that passion in real constructive, powerful, outcome-driven ways. Hey, before we dial it in a little bit more specifically on some of the cool things, powerful things you are doing, I want to share, folks, hey, check out the link, right? AllenAid.org. And also, how about this? Speaking of that, what Kathy was just talking about, check out this Saving Lives Through Logistics. And that's exactly what they're doing, right? So y'all check out the website. Also, that Supply Chain Intelligence Center, whether you are jumping in the mission, and we'll tell you how to do that in just a minute. Outstanding market intel there. So y'all check it out and let us know what you think. Hey, really quick, Kathy, Lexi, and Billy Ray. We were talking a minute ago about Billy Ray's mother. which you'll find throughout this wonderful book that I love.
Yes.
My mom, Leah Luton, is with us here today from Aiken, South Carolina.
Oh.
Wonderful to see you, Mom. Okay.
She out on the polo field? Isn't that what Aiken's known for?
Well, we were the polo capital of the world years ago, and we still are horse country in many ways. And Mom will be walking past those polo fields, I bet, this morning after she gets her walk in. So we'll see.
Love it.
Okay. So Lexi, getting back to what Alan is up to, right? I want to dial it in a little bit more on some of your current initiatives and projects. In particular, I bet you have been working a lot with needs and problems associated with Hurricane Debbie. Tell us more about that and any other initiative you might want to touch on.
Yeah, so the most pressing is Hurricane Debbie. We are activated and mobilized. As we know, it made its first landfall early last week, and then its second landfall in South Carolina later in the week. I think what's particularly interesting about Debbie is that it was relatively slow moving, which means the impacts are increased. And specifically in this case, there was a lot of water, which leads to increased severe flooding and road disruptions. And we know this means that it not only affects the current supply chains that are in place, but it also impacts how aid can get into those affected areas. Part of what we've been doing is we've been in constant communication with our partners on both aisles, nonprofit and private sector. We've also been convening our nonprofit partners on our Gray Skies logistics coordination calls to discuss those current challenges and what anticipated needs there may be. These calls solely focus on coordinating logistics solutions to meet survivor needs following a disaster. As of right now, we do know there are a few needs, including moving several aid items throughout Florida, and we know we'll need support in the Carolinas as well. With this said, it is still early in the response. There is still major flooding and the rivers haven't yet crested, but we are expecting the need for transportation as well as warehousing.
Wow. Kathy, I'll get you way in here, but one of the things I was reminded of as Lexi was sharing is that with the news cycle velocity these days, Hurricane Debbie's front and center for like 3 or 4 days, and then it comes ashore. It's not, as I'll call, making up a word, maybe reportable, or it doesn't generate as much interest. So then they flip to the next story. But yet, as Lexi said, the rivers haven't even crested and the real damage is still being, assessed. What else would you add to what Lexi shared there, Kathy?
Yeah, I think it goes back to even what she said about, we're there all the way through the disaster life cycle, right? One of the things that I'm really proud of that Lexi has done in the year that she's been with the organization is she's really reached out to all of these nonprofits and said, hey, we want to help you be more prepared before the next disaster gets here. And we want to help you build community. So she's been bringing all of these nonprofits together on these coordination calls, all these training calls, just giving them information, helping them to be, like, I would say, better shippers. Right. if we consider them shippers, we would help them be better shippers in the community. And that plays out during the gray skies, blue sky, gray sky. It plays out when the disaster is happening by having this great community where they can reach out and help each other. So it's just been really fascinating to watch that happen. But you're right, the news cycle, what's next? I always feel like if people are worried. I mean, literally, you said 3 or 4 days. Sometimes we're lucky if we get a day. Right.
So. It is. It's a very big challenge. One more thing before I come back to Billy Ray for comment. Lexi, building community. Is this what you've always done? Are you kind of inclined to do that kind of work and just applied it in this case to Alan, and you saw a need and you got to work?
I would say so. I grew up in a relatively small town. There was community everywhere. And I think one thing that's really important in everyday life, but in disaster response, is coming together and fixing or rebuilding what was broken or torn down because of a storm or wildfire. Maui wildfires was actually one of my first disasters we worked. And I just remember wanting to help them with such a passion. It's a community, it's an ocean away, but I still view it as my community. I think that's the most critical thing in disaster response.
Love it. Oh man, I love how y'all act on that burning passion to help others. It's what
Mm-hmm.
Alan's built on.
Scott, you see why she's perfect for the Allen team, right?
I do.
You know?
Man, I'll tell you what, Billy Ray, what you're so we covered a lot of ground there between Kathy and Lexi. What did you hear there, Billy Ray?
Well, first of all, I admire what you do. I've lived through it. So I ran plants in Lawton where we had a massive tornado hit the plant. And actually, when I was in Fayetteville, it actually hit my office.
Wow.
I wasn't there. And then a flood in one of the plants I led. And so I know the experience. I've lived it. But something you said that I really took to heart is through the disaster. And you talked about not only am I getting you through the disaster, after disaster to help you prepare, because there's a chance it could happen again.
Yeah.
And so you're educating people, and by doing so, you're building these communities, and in those communities, you can share best practices.
Right.
Yes.
You can share lessons learned. So that was my key takeaway through it all, because nature will strike again, and
No doubt.
in the same place.
Yes. Death, taxes, and disruption. You can plan, you could wind your clock by it, set your clock by it. Going back, two quick things, and then we're going to make sure folks know how they can jump in and get and support what you are doing. Specific to Hurricane Debbie, and I've got a family member down on that lives in the Charleston area, right? So I was a little more keen, focused in on what was going on. And for years, Edisto Beach down there was where we vacation, like a family beach. And gosh, I was reading some of the devastation down there. The power, I think, went out across the island, and they went back in to set up the power wires. But because the water had, and I'm not a hydro engineer, but basically as they put the pylons in and thought they were set and started to wire it, the foundational it wasn't strong enough. So all the poles started to lean back over. So they had to reset things. Just you think of new challenges. Also, one other thing, Kathy, before we move on, if you could speak to what I'm hearing both of your responses so far is the all these coordination calls where you're sharing information, marshaling resources, setting up action, passing along accurate information, especially in these chaotic times. Kathy, is it gotten easier or has it gotten tougher based on where we are in the digital age?
Oh, well, sometimes it's difficult to weed out the noise. We're super fortunate, Scott, that we have this wonderful partner with Everstream Analytics and their AI tool. And they provide us with real-time weather information. We've gone in and mapped every point of infrastructure of interest. So all the ports, all the airports, you can see all of the parking, public parking for truck parking locations. You can see the real-time weather at any of those locations. But even better than that, you can see the predictive weather, because Everstream's an AI tool. You can see that for up to 10 days, with the water, the wind, the temperature, all of those things are going to be. It helps us in planning our humanitarian shipments.
Yep.
But Everstream with their commercial partners, it helps them even more to keep those trucks on the road. So
I love that. David and Korai and plenty others over there at Everstream Analytics, making the world a better place. And I love the application. Team. It is.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, Kathy, is that what powers the supply chain intelligence centers?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. You actually called out what the brand that we call it is our supply chain intelligence center, and Everstream allows us to share that with all of our nonprofit partners, for free, which is amazing. It's a really generous gift that they've provided us. And we know there's a couple of food banks out there that, they use it during the disaster, obviously. Right. But, I've had them tell me, look, we look at that every single day because we need to know where we're going to send our trucks, how we're going to, do we need to refrigerate this or just put something on the road? We love that partnership.
Well, so I've got a snapshot of the website here, allenaid.org. Again, folks, go check it out. And the Supply Chain Intelligence Center is right here.
That's right.
And you can sign up for it and benefit just like some of the organizations Kathy was talking about. What an outstanding, innovative evolution of y'all's organization, Kathy. Anything else? Lex, let's switch over to you. Kathy was sharing, some of the ways that folks can reach out and jump in, and we'll circle back, make sure there's nothing else that Kathy wants to share. But Lexi, what would be your advice for folks that want to reach out and support the wonderful mission y'all have you're driving at Allen?
Yeah, just send an email. Honestly, send an email, and we are happy to talk with anyone about our work and our mission and what we do.
Mm-hmm. And you'll find a way based on what they can, their interests and their wherewithal and where they're located, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You'll have the discussion and find a way, Lexi. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly correct.
Yeah, Lexi is really underplaying this year, and I'm going to take 15 seconds and tell you, because she literally, it does magic. She knows people's geography. She knows their capabilities. She knows their interests. She's able, when a nonprofit reaches out to her and says, hey, I need something, she can find the right partner, or at least she can find the right target partners. Getting people to say yes is not always as easy, but she knows who the potential best partners are immediately. She's phenomenally organized that way. So yeah, reach out to her.
High praise there, Lexi. All right, before we make sure folks know how to connect with Kathy and Lexi, and folks, y'all to check out. I enjoy the blogs y'all put out as well, Kathy. It's very well rounded. I think one of your last articles was on the Olympics, which I think caught the world by storm this year. It was really interesting, fascinating to see athletes represent their countries and compete. Billy Ray, though, that's high praise. When you hear Kathy talking about what Lexi's doing, of course, what the organization is doing, your thoughts, Sarah. We're going to be talking about culture after this segment. But Billy Ray, when I put the finger on the pulse of the culture at Allen, goodness gracious, they are. When we talk about moving mountains, they're doing it by the bunches, huh?
They are. And Kathy, I really value the way you announced that around Lexi, right? Scott, we talk about you make people visible, they make you valuable. And your respect for those people, respect for what they bring to the table. And one of the things as humans, we want to be valued in our personal relationships and our business relationships. And you're not only bringing value externally, but you're bringing it internally as well. So I appreciate that.
That's right. Making Flagler University proud. I say that right, Lexi? It's Monday.
College, but yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do this. Let's make sure folks know how to connect with y'all. This is just the tip of the iceberg on all the important critical work that Kathy, Lexi, and their team are doing. And there's room for more. Wherever you are, right? You give a little, give a lot, all points in between. Let's start with you, Lexi. How can folks reach out and connect with you and the Allen team?
Yeah, you can send me an email at alexia@allenaid.org. There are also forms on our website to reach out to any of our members of the team.
Outstanding and wonderful. And Kathy's probably just as easy for you, huh?
Yeah, reach out to us via the website, allenaid.org. That gives you links on how to donate your logistics services or equipment. It tells you how to volunteer your time, and it tells you how to make a financial contribution. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We could not do what we do without the generosity of the community to support us with those donations.
Yeah, well said. Well, really, I admire not just the noble mission and the leadership that y'all both are exhibiting, but the action and the outcomes that you're driving, right? It's anything but lip service leadership around here. And that, right. I tell you, we just really admire what y'all do. So folks, connect with Kathy Fulton, Lexi Nobles over there. Check out the website at ALLENAID, ALANAID.org. We drop the link in the chat. And we want to thank our friends and all the rest of their colleagues there. Kathy Fulton, Executive Director with the American Logistics Aid Network. Kathy, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Scott. Nice to see you, Billy Ray.
Thank
you as well. And Lexi Nobles, Operations Coordinator, the King of Community at Allen. Keep doing what you're doing. And we look forward to having y'all both back with us soon. Thanks, Lexi.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, Billy Ray, man. Love as heartbreaking as what causes the need for what they do. How invigorating and positive and uplifting to see what they're doing about it, right?
And they're passionate about what they do. that came through loud and clear, right? It
Oh,
was more
gosh.
than just a job.
That's right.
It was an
That is
impact.
right.
Yes.
Well, we look
They
forward
were
to
great.
having. They are great. The dynamic duo, Kathy and Lexi. Thanks again. Look forward to having y'all back soon. Hey, speaking of, check this out. Our friend Peter Bolay. Hey, PB. Peter Bolay all night and all day. As we used to say, Peter, hope this finds you well. They caught 6 inches of rain last Friday here in Montreal. Massive flooding all over the place. Thousands with significant water damage in their homes. But he was fortunate to escape any damage. That is wonderful to hear. Hang on a sec. Quick update. Other than some minor water-logged boxes in our storage room. Well, hey, that sounds like a blessing, Peter.
Yes.
And hope you and the family are doing well. T Squared says, hey, good innovation. Supply chain centers of excellence are a rarity these days. I agree, especially centers of excellence that where you can tie real tangible results and outcomes to, right? Because it's not just, those, what do they call them? Coordination calls they're having. It's one thing to share information. It's a whole nother thing, Billy Ray, when you can share and inform that leads to action and help and assistance, huh?
That's right. That's right. Driving change.
Driving change.
Change, right? Yeah.
Well, we've got more work to do, Billy Ray. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right. So, folks, thanks for keep the comments coming in. We got 2 stories, actually 3 stories we want to touch on here today. All 3 of them, 2 of them will have really strong manufacturing themes, some cultural themes. And I'm really curious to see it, for folks that have been following us here for quite some time. You may know about Billy Ray Taylor's background, deep in manufacturing leadership, leading North American manufacturing plants and teams. So I'm really looking forward to tapping into your expertise here, Billy Ray. But let's do this. First story, we're going to be talking Boeing. So check this out. Recent story from Manufacturing Dive, which makes some observations about a, quote, chaotic factory culture at Boeing. So I'm going to unpack this a bit, Billy Ray, and then I'm going to come back and get your take on what we hear. And of course, this is a much fuller story, right? This article tends to focus on a couple of key cultural elements, though. So in the last week or so, the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, interviewed Boeing and Spirit Aerosystems as they continue to investigate the Alaska Airlines incident back in January 2024. I can't believe that's been 8 months ago. Gosh, feels like it was like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, many of y'all remember hearing about the door plug, talking about news cycles. I think with that door plug incident was front of the news for like 2 weeks straight, where the initial findings is that 4 key bolts were missing from the aircraft after not being replaced after a repair job. Those missing bolts allowed that what they call the mid-exit door plug to blow out mid-flight. And of course, the passengers caught it on their phones, video, much to Boeing's chagrin, I'm sure. But some are pointing out through this investigative process to an incredibly tough culture at Boeing, which has made it challenging to work in for its employees. Some team members said they work 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, as they feel pressure to get things done. In fact, the ongoing investigation has found that workers were skipping some production steps in the rush to get things done. Some interviews also uncovered a us versus them dynamic as it relates to Boeing mechanics, full-time team members, and some of the subcontractors. So, Billy, there's a lot going on, but just those couple of examples alone is a lot and probably shoots up some danger signs. Your thoughts there, Billy Ray?
Absolutely. Once I unpack this story, it was really interesting. I see it quite often, the pressure for profitability. And that's a summary, but breaking that down more, it's the pressure to prioritize speed over quality. Right. Workers, they're reportedly under continued pressure to focus on meeting deadlines rather than high quality standards. And from that work strain, people will compromise even safety standards. They'll compromise meeting that deadline rather than following safety protocols. They skip steps. And this then becomes systematic. It becomes acceptable because leaders allow it. So when leaders allow it, that means that's the standard. That's the thing to do. It's okay. It's okay. I would often ask people, when I was at Goodyear, if your wife and child were riding on those tires, would you cut steps? Would you
I like it.
shortcut it? Right. And so, and the last thing I would say when I came back to basically my summary, it was around that corporate responsibility, right? The need for all these things for it to change. Something has to change with the cultural aspect of the operating systems. How do you hold leaders accountable to focus on safety and quality?
Yep.
And not sacrifice it for efficiency.
That's right.
And so that's it.
Yeah. So Larry Klein says, sounds like leadership hasn't spent time in the trenches. That's an excellent point, Larry Klein. And you know that leadership is changing. Billy Ray said something had to change. I believe I saw, was it just in the last few weeks, maybe even last week, new CEO at Boeing. And I'll tell you what, with what CEO compensation is, they are incentivized to get it fixed quick. But Boeing's really kind of taking it on the chin a little bit with these ongoing airliner issues, and also the space mission. We have a couple astronauts getting some extra vacation time up there on the space station. Billy Ray, have you been tracking that story too?
Yes.
It is. It's remarkable. But anyway, we're going to keep our finger on the pulse of the story. You know, Boeing impacts so many companies and people and families. We're all pulling for them to get things turned around and in a safe and quality way for sure. All right. Similar story. Semiconductors, I'll tell you, we're referencing the digital age earlier where computer chips and sometimes the shortages of them impact us all. Check out this story. So many of y'all may recall the really big investments, but especially when chips were hitting like shortages everywhere you looked, everything you heard about, there was a shortage in any industry. And then the next thing you saw is plant breaking ground announcements everywhere, right? So we're shifting over from aerospace to computer chip manufacturing as reported. This interesting story here reported by the New York Times. TSMC is experiencing a few challenges when it comes to getting its new plant out there in Arizona online, as the facility's start date has been pushed back a time or two. So get this, Billy Ray Taylor, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, that's a mouthful, aka TSMC, announced plans in May 2020 to build a manufacturing facility near Phoenix, Arizona. Now, the company, man, I guess chip plants are pretty expensive. The company budgeted $65 billion to set up the plant, but that wasn't enough because it receives another $6.6 billion from the U.S. government as part of the CHIPS and Science Act. Recent interviews, though, have pointed to a culture clash between Taiwanese managers and U.S. workers, which is adding to the difficulties of bringing production online. A couple of examples here, Billy Ray. Workers are allegedly being asked to work outside their job descriptions because plant construction is so far behind schedule. American workers have also complained about lots and lots of unnecessary meetings and longer than expected travel training in Taiwan, where they're taking a lot of talent back, kind of train them up on how things are done successfully in Taiwan and hoping to replicate that as much as they can out in Arizona. TSMC now plans to crank up production at the new site in 2025, so a year or so away, but they're going to need a lot more workers to do so. And Billy Ray, they've got competition because Intel, amongst other companies, but Intel, direct competitor, is expanding its computer chip production in the general vicinity out there in Arizona as well. Tom Pearson with the Chandler Gilbert Community College, one of the schools helping TSMC in that talent pipeline, TSMC and Intel meet workforce demands, says, quote, "We're becoming the Silicon Desert," end quote. All right. So Billy Ray, lots going on there. Critical industry that touches everything. Your shoes are smart. Your blankets are smart. Right. Of course, cars and dishwashers and everything else. Your thoughts here?
Well, the headline, what works in Taiwan doesn't always work in Arizona. Now, that headline, and now I'm going to compare it to the automotive industry, right? When we started shifting, Toyota,
Right.
everyone wanted to go the Toyota way. But there are some differences, right? Different challenges, especially from a cultural perspective, right? The workers tend to want to follow what the leader says, and when we were in Toyota, Japan, where in America, you were encouraged to give your opinion, to give feedback. And so when I look at this situation, one, I looked at complex manufacturing challenges. There's differences. There's differences even in locations and geography, and talk about cultural differences. That speaks for itself.
Right.
In the different practices, skill sets between the U.S. and Taiwan, there's differences. But I want to end here with that training and development, understanding the natives, speaking a common language, not a common meaning. And so when you start, the common meaning, not a common language, it's just like, if we go to New York, they go, hi, you go to Brazil, hola, right? You get to Texas, howdy. It all means the same, right? But you have to be able to craft that message and people will understand. And if they don't understand it, and the last for me, what's missing is the lack of ownership.
Yeah.
And so that's what I see here. Overall, I mean, expanding, replacing high-tech manufacturing operations across different regions, it's important of adapting those strategies to fit the local conditions and challenges.
Yeah. Question for you. So in my background, especially either in manufacturing or supporting the manufacturing industry much of my career, we had some plants that I would work in that, gosh, if you go check out lunchtime and check out the cliques that kind of hung out and broke bread together, dozens of cultures and nationalities and folks from all walks of life were represented. Billy, in your background, kind of going to the point that you're making where you're trying to bring that together and have one company language or operational language, perhaps. You've led plants and ecosystems for much of your career. What's one, if folks are out there saying, yes, Billy, I want to do that, I want to build that one language, what is one step that you think they could take today that would help them take a step in the right direction when it comes to bringing folks together, cultures together, employees together? What would you advise?
Finding common grounds, finding those things. And this is from practical experience. I used to break those cliques up and they didn't know it was happening.
Okay.
I get them in different meetings, different departments across the plant. Instead of one department where they can come in and dump on me, I brought departments from across the plant and put them in the room. Okay. And success was the common ground. Now, here's what would happen in those things. They would start to rally instead of start to complain. Now, Scott, there's differences, right? You can look at the screens and you and I, there's differences, be it what it may, right? Even if we had differences, if you and I were in the Olympics and we had on a shirt that said USA, we're rallying. We're playing on the same team. We're playing to win.
Yeah.
And we're playing to beat whoever we're playing, whether it's Germany, whether it's Africa, whether it's Jamaica. You talked about the 4x1 relay.
Yes.
They wanted to win. And so they had a common ground. Great leaders and great teams create these common platforms to rally around. And people buy in. And that was my starting point. And then I moved from there.
Yeah.
And so that's a key point.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I wish I could be a fly on the wall and watch you in action back in the day, Billy. The best I can do now. And folks, I'm touting this book because I've enjoyed this book and I like the storytelling. You pick up there's a lot of great books. And I've almost read every one of them behind me. But you pick up some books, leadership books, and goodness gracious, you can't. It's all theoretical. There's way too much math in there, whatever it is. This is stories from the trenches, and you make it very approachable, kind of what you're sharing here today. So folks, check out the Winning Link wherever you get your books from. And Billy Ray, it's a pleasure to get you to speak to leadership, culture, and manufacturing here on The Buzz. Our All right. T Squared says either lead by a good, robust example or don't lead. And and T Squared, of course, holds down Fort Force over there on YouTube, and he's talking about Boeing. And Larry Klein offers something a little bit similar. LK says take responsibility and move out. Get stepping. All right. Love it. All right. So, Billy, we're going to wrap on something I think is pretty cool too.
Mhm.
I'll tell you what, we have really tackled. I mean, I think culture has been the big theme of this whole buzz. Starting with Kathy and Lexi, shining examples of a can-do culture there at Allen, right? And then kind of talking more on the kind of the tougher side, the more negative side of some cultural challenges at one of America's longtime more successful companies. And then, of course, a company that's been incredibly successful, taking all sorts of market share with TSMC globally. And now they're trying to replicate that here in the States. Really fascinating cultural studies, I think, across all those. But Billy Ray, the good folks that are going to be at the 2024 Baldridge Fall Conference have the good fortune to hear from you. The conference is put on by the Baldridge Foundation. You're going to be speaking there this fall. Now, many of our audience members recognize certainly the prestigious Malcolm Baldridge Award, which now I went back. I had a former colleague that talked about this award a lot, especially globally. And I thought it had been around for like 100 years. But the first award, Billy Ray, was presented in 1988. But still, gosh, we're approaching that. Is that, it'll be 40 years old? Or is my math wrong? No one asked me to ever do math. Yeah, we're approaching 40th anniversary. So let's do this, Billy Ray. Tell us, if you would, a little bit about that award, and then what are you going to be speaking to at the conference?
Well, the one, Malcolm Baldridge is a part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, and so it's the top level for quality recognition, quality standards, quality benchmarking, and just the essence of being excellent at what you do. It's kind of what we talked about with Boeing. Those things providing valuable insight to organization that want to enhance their operations and achieve a higher quality standard. That's what it's about. But what I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to do a workshop the day before the conference in the keynote to open the conference, and it's how we win. How we win. And I'm going to focus on how you define, align, and execute winning at every level. And that's it. That's it. How to win.
How to win. And you know what? I was checking out, and folks, we dropped the link to the conference right there. I think it's in beautiful Florida somewhere, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Is that right?
Yes, it is. It's in Florida.
So check out that link if y'all want to go there. Registrations are open. You can hear from Billy Ray. I saw a Miami Dolphins executive. They got other speakers and whatnot. But Billy Ray, I saw that awesome new headshot you got, where it's kind of it's something like this, and it. You know what? Whoever did that got you perfectly, because it is who you are, the energy that you bring, the personality as folks are learning from you and kind of hearing your expertise. I'm telling you, it is contagious. So that new headshot is on point, and I can't wait to get your key takeaways from the conference.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to have a lot of fun. A lot of fun, Scott.
Hey, when do you not, though? When do you not? I got to make another trip up to Ohio, and we got to catch up and visit. What was our restaurant we went and had that smoked prime rib? Oh my gosh.
Edgar's.
Oh gosh, man.
Yes.
All right, we'll make that happen soon. All right, so before I finish, I got one more thought I'm gonna share with folks. And thanks for being here, everybody. I know we didn't hit everybody's comments, but check out the links we dropped to everything in the chat, from the American Logistics Aid Network all through all the stories. Even the Baldridge Fall Conference coming up here in just a couple months. Larry Klein, I'm going to reach out to you, make sure we get you up to the AME conference here in Atlanta in October. Looking forward to that. But Billy Ray Taylor, how can folks connect with you and all the cool things you're up to?
Well, LinkedIn is the best. I'm also on Facebook, but LinkedIn, I reply and post on all my own social media. So that's the best place to catch Billy.
Wonderful. All right. Look forward to seeing more pictures of you rubbing elbows with the Hollywood rock and roll stars soon, folks, real soon. All right. So before we wrap up, though, I want to also offer this resource. So this is a kind of a landing page where you can learn all sorts, all that you want, and then some, probably, when it comes to supply chain now programming, community, some of the things we're up to, you name it. We're dropping that catch-all link to make it really easy for you right here. And you're one click away. You can learn all that stuff. You could even learn about some advertising and some sponsorship opportunities. I'll tell you, it is a robust environment when you're hanging out with the likes of Kathy, Lexi, Billy Ray, Amanda, and Catherine behind the scenes. It has been a fascinating journey indeed. Billy Ray Taylor, thank you for being here. Really appreciate what you do.
Thank you for having me. Always love being here. My favorite supply chain is Supply Chain Now.
Hey, all right. We'll take it. We'll take it. Amanda, Catherine, did y'all get that? Let's put it on the back of a t-shirt. All right, everybody. But now it's time. We've had a lot of fun. Hopefully we've informed and educated y'all on some things here today. I'm hoping especially with what Alan is up to. If you take anything away, please go visit allanaid.org and see if there's a way that you can plug in and support their mission where they're helping lots and lots of families and individuals. But whatever you do, take something that Billy Ray said or Kathy or Lexi or something was shared in the comments, you name it, and put it into action, right? No one's got time for lip service leadership, right? Deeds, not words, what it's all about. And with all of that said, on behalf of the entire Supply Chain Now team, Scott Luton challenge you, do good, give forward, be the change that's needed. And we'll see you next time right back here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.